What's up, man?
What's going on? How's everything?
Man, it's just normal. It's a lot going on right now in the entertainment world.
Bro, a lot going on. A lot going on.
Yeah, we are doing another one. It's time. So, what are we talking about today, man?
So today, we're finally gonna bring you our opinions on Eternals. We're gonna give you our view of the movie and how it plays out and what it means for the broader MCU. And after that, we're gonna catch you up on what's going on in the Book of Boba Fett because a lot's been going down in that show, and it will be wrong. It will be wrong for us not to say anything about it before the finale, which is coming out next week. So that's what we got in store for y'all.
Yeah, definitely. We got a banger of an episode this week,
Yo,
so we
banger of
just had to talk
episode.
about it. Yeah, originally, we
Had
weren't
to.
going to talk about the show again until it was all out, but man, with
Yeah,
what just happened this week, I mean, we can't hold
and
it in
also
for
what
that
happened
long.
last week too. We couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, um, Eternals. Did you see this in theaters?
I did actually. Sadly, yeah, I did see it in theaters. It
So just
wasn't the best movie going experience. Yeah. What about you?
no, I did not. I was not very interested
Mm.
beforehand, so I decided I'll just wait for the Disney Plus drop.
Hmm.
And I'm definitely glad I did wait because wow, that movie was a snooze fest. I mean, I don't even like to call movies boring. I mean, it's rare that I see a movie that's actually boring.
Right.
But wow, this this one was boring. I mean,
Yeah,
I can't
this
really think
movie.
of another way to describe it. I mean, I fell asleep and I
Yeah, I
never
fell
fall
asleep
asleep.
too.
Yeah, I never fall asleep watching movies. I mean, sometimes I'll be dead tired trying to watch something at 4 in the morning and I still won't fall asleep.
Yeah.
But I watched this movie. This is how bad it was. The sun was still out. I was watching this in the afternoon and I freaking fell asleep on the couch. I'm waking up. I woke up. I was like, "What the hell just happened?" I had to freaking rewind and put it back to where I was to finish it because it was just a slog. I mean, and the movie is too long. That's part of the problem is that
Yeah,
it's 2 hours and
this movie's
38
way too
minutes
long.
long. I
Way
mean,
too
we're
long. Way too
talking
long.
about over 2.5 hours. Most movies don't need to be 2.5 hours. And
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about a movie that has characters no one cares about, it's boring, weak antagonist. There's just nothing that's really interesting about it to make me engaged. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I freaking fell asleep and it was a chore to get through the second half of the movie. I mean, I was just thinking to myself like, when is this gonna be over? I mean, yeah,
Hmm. Uh. Yeah. So Eternals. I don't know. Uh. You're right. It was way too long. Way too long. And I mean, like, I know it's kind of hard introducing. Like it was like 10 or 11 brand new characters. Um. But like, still, two and a half hours is long for like a brand new franchise in the MCU. So it was too long for me. I fell asleep as well. I saw it in the theaters, and it's actually funny because I'm gonna tell you the story. I was in the theater. I was in the theaters, and uh I don't like. I kind of don't like those new theaters where like the seats recline all the way back.
mm-hmm,
Like I'm not really a fan of those because I feel like they promote sleeping.
It's like a
So
freaking bed.
yeah, it's a bed. So even though I had that seat, I was still sitting up straight, and I still fell asleep. Um, the crazy thing was, as I was watching the movie, the power goes out. No, no, no.
Really?
As I'm sleeping, the power goes out. Right. So I woke up and it was dark. And when I woke up, I thought the movie was over, and I thought I was the last person in the theater. And I was like, wow, the movie was that bad that like I was knocked out that hard. But then the guy next to me started talking, and I was like, oh, because it was pitch black. I was like, what's going on? And he was like, oh, the power went out. I was like, oh, you know what? It's a good thing because I fell asleep. And then it took like 40 minutes for the power to go back on. And what they did was they said they said to everyone that was there, listen, just keep your tickets and just come back another day and just show your ticket and say that you were there the night of the power outage, and we'll give you a free ticket, right? This was about 20 minutes into the wait time while the power was out. So I was like, you know what? All right, that sounds like a good deal because it's kind of late. I should get home, right? So
Hmm.
then I get in my car, and as I get in my car, well, first of all, the power outage was so big that the whole complex that the movie theater was in was dark. So I was like, wow, I get in my car, I was about to leave. I started driving like maybe for like 2 seconds, and the power flicks on for the whole complex. And I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm not about to I'm not about to go back to the theater and watch this movie again. Or I'm not about to wait until Disney Plus until Disney Plus to watch this movie again. Right? So I was
Hmm.
like, I might as well just finish it now and then keep my ticket and use it uh for another time. So that's what I did. I went into the movie theater and I was like, and everybody was like, yeah, the movie stopped here, so let's just start it from here. And they did. They finished it, and then I was like, you know what? I made the right decision because there was no way I was going back a second time to the theater to see that. Yeah. So that was my Eternals experience.
So the movie was so bad it killed the power.
Yeah. The movie was so bad it killed the power exactly.
Oh man.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, the problem was one of the problems was that they're trying to introduce 10 or 11, however many Eternals there are. They're trying to introduce too many characters, and then they feel like they got to go through each one's backstory and focus on them for a long time, and that creates a long runtime. I mean, it's like what I always say: a movie usually only focuses on one or two characters, really, and then yeah, some side characters will get some shine, but you don't really go into their whole story and everything like that, their whole backstory and all their motivations and things like that. You don't really go into that deep when you're talking about side characters. So yeah, so I really think that this would have worked better as a Disney Plus series
Right.
because that would have gave it the time it needed to really focus on all these characters, and I think it would have came out better.
Right.
But the problem is, and this is me just guessing, I think it probably would have been harder to get all those actors. I mean, the cast was all superstar actors, so
I was about to say that.
they probably wouldn't have wanted to do a series because if you think about it, all the series that they've done so far are either people that were in the MCU already, or if it's a new character, it's not really a known actor that well.
Mm, yeah.
Besides, well, Oscar Isaac's like a big time actor, but he's the only one really. Well, him and
Hmm.
Ethan Hawke and the Moon Knight is really the only one that had big time actors for the like new big time actors in Marvel for the series. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. It was like a star-studded cast,
hmm
and they folded. Um, Rotten
well,
Tomatoes score. Rotten Tomatoes scored it a 48. Honestly, I don't blame him.
Well,
uh,
the problem, there's no problem with the cast themselves. It's really just the writing and the look of the movie and basically decisions at a higher level than actors. I mean, they were all, they acted fine. They all did well, but it was just a boring movie of uninteresting characters. And of course, as every Marvel movie, visually it's not really, anything special. I
right.
mean, the CGI was good though, but I mean, it's Disney. They have an unlimited budget, so
The,
bad
the CGI
CGI
was
is
pretty good.
just, yeah. If they have bad CGI, I mean, that's just pathetic. But yeah, that was okay. And yeah, all the characters were pretty much. I mean, I didn't really care about any of them. The deviants were just giant monsters. I mean, how many times are we gonna be fighting CGI monsters in movies? Don't people
Yeah.
get tired of that? Aren't you tired of generic CGI monsters?
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly. What What did you think of All right, so what did you think of the plot of the movie? Like, what were the highs, what were the lows in the plot to you?
I mean, it was kind of predictable because we're not really introduced to like a villain for like the first half, so it's pretty obvious one of the Eternals is gonna end up being the villain in the end, and of course that's what happened. With
Mhm.
Icarus turning into the villain, but yeah, and other than that, I mean, it was just kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't, it was just kind of, I don't want to say boring again, but it just wasn't very engaging. I found myself just waiting for it to be over. I mean,
Right.
um, yeah, nobody was really compelling in any way. Plot was, I mean, it was just okay. I mean, the movie isn't horrible in like a dumb way. There's nothing that's dumb about it or that doesn't make sense, but it's really just flat.
Mm.
So if I had to give it a rating, I would probably say like a 5 out of 10 because it doesn't do anything that horrible. It's just so boring. But
Right.
to me, that makes it even worse because a long, boring movie is just bad. I mean,
Right.
even if it's not horrible, like some movies can be bad, but at least they're entertaining in some way. Like I'd rather watch a bad, entertaining movie than watch something that is just straight up boring.
Right. 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 Mm.
So yeah, what did you
So,
think about it?
so what I thought about the movie was, I thought the movie was like kind of interesting at first, but
It
then,
has an interesting premise.
yeah, it has an interesting premise, right? But I was kind of lost with like the way uh the characters were depicted. Like, I I didn't really like the design of the characters. Um, I thought like
Really?
what they were wearing was cool, but I didn't like how like everybody just seemed like the same thing. They just had their own how do I put it? Like everything about all the Eternals was gold. So like there was no differentiation other than how their powers were used. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thought to me that like that was kind of whack. And then I going into the movie, watching all the trailers, right? I didn't really expect Icarus to be the villain. I thought Druid was gonna be the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even even as you watch as you watch the movie, as the movie went on, right? And they would go in the they would flash back to however long ago it was whenever um however long ago it was when they split apart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Jura was the first one to leave because Thena Athena was suffering from mad weary, and um, Ajax said that she had to be dealt with, and Druid was the one that said no, and everybody was splitting up. I thought
Hmm.
that was kind of I thought like to me like that was like the best part of the movie because I thought that the plot was going to go somewhere from there, but
Hmm.
then it didn't really do much. It didn't really do much, and then from, from that point, I didn't really expect Icarus to be the antagonist or to be one of the antagonists of the movie. Um, Plus, I feel like because there was so many characters, they had a hard time. They had a hard time like keeping track of everybody's story, or
Hmm.
or like um not keeping track, but um dedicating like a certain amount of time for everybody's story. Like
Hmm.
I thought Kingo's story had a nice run. Like
Which one is
between
that?
Kingo and Karun.
I forgot
Kingo
most of
was
their
the one
names.
who was the Bollywood star with
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
his partner Karun. Karun was funny.
yeah, yeah.
Karun was funny, but like I feel like with Tina and Gilgamesh, like we didn't really get much from them. Uh, we didn't get much from Druid either, which I was upset about because I thought Druid was one of the most interesting characters.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Him and
and
Makari to me were the most interesting people.
right, Makari, and we didn't get anything from Makari until almost the end.
Yeah.
Um, like we got a little bit from Fastos, but like what we got from Fastos didn't really do much for the plot until the end as well. Um, and I don't know, it didn't really like live up to my expectations because I I just expected the Eternals to be I didn't I didn't know much about them going into the movie,
Hmm.
and it didn't really do much for me coming out of the movie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I wasn't really usually whenever I see a movie, I'm like kind of excited after. I want to read up more on the characters. It didn't really
Hmm.
do that for me in this one. So
Yeah.
yeah, and the plot didn't really help either.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Yeah. But I didn't really have a problem with their designs. I mean, I think they were okay. They weren't. I wasn't really. I didn't really like their designs that much. I think they were just fine. I
Yeah,
mean, the costumes looked good, but I'm just saying I didn't
the
really care
the costumes look good.
for
Yeah,
the yeah. I didn't really care for the design. Um. Yeah.
you know what?
Uh.
You're right. What's it called? Druid and Makari. Now that I think about it, like I think I like them the best because their abilities weren't like tied. They had like the most unique abilities. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Druig's ability was to control people, and Makari had super speed. But
Right.
everybody else's abilities came from the golden aura that would appear around them. Oh, and maybe Sprite too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah,
And
Eternals like it didn't really do like I mean I don't really know much about the characters, so I don't know if I can say that it didn't really do the characters justice. But in terms of introducing new characters for somebody who likes fandom and everything, I I wasn't really it didn't really do a lot.
no. Um. But I guess positively, I'll say I did like how they like the effects, like how they showed Makari's super speed.
Hmm.
Like I think that was really cool. Like so, I want to see her, in another movie, like where it's teaming up with somebody else, where they get to fight, and I get to see more super speed. Because
Right.
I think like that was probably the best thing about the movie to me. And Druig was probably the most interesting character, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, there wasn't that many connections to the rest of the MCU. I mean the seed thing, because that was how Ego was born, right? He's a Celestial,
Yeah,
and yeah, it was like those seed things, like how that whole deal with him trying to spread seeds or whatever. So that was a connection there, and you've seen the post credit scenes, right?
yeah. I saw the post credit scenes.
All right. So what was the first one was what? Okay, Star Fox appeared, played by what's his name?
Oh,
I
Harry
forgot it.
Styles.
Yeah, playing Star
Yeah, Harry
Fox.
Styles.
Um, and we seen Pip the Troll, who
Hmm.
I recently discovered watching the Silver Surfer cartoon from the 90s. So I was
Oh,
interested in the more like cosmic play area of Marvel. So I decided I'm gonna watch the Silver Surfer cartoon, and
right.
it's only like one season. You should watch it. It's on Disney Plus, and it has an art style that's like modeled after Jack Kirby's art. And
Okay.
it's dope, and it's dope. But yeah, that's where I saw Pip the Troll. He appeared in the post credit scene of Eternals, and then in the second post credit scene, we see Kit Harington about to suit up as the Black Knight. So
Hmm.
they're bringing that character in. I don't really know much about him either, but I've seen like some art. Um, so I think he has a pretty cool design. So I hope they have a cool costume ready for when Kit Harington suits up for real. And also,
So
did you realize that voice was Mahershala Ali?
yeah, I did, and I was just about to say this this was probably the part that I was most excited about coming out of the movie
Mm-hmm.
because
Blade.
uh because of Blade, right? And did you did you watch Blade? Did you watch the old Blades?
No, I didn't. Yo, I still haven't seen Blade.
You haven't seen
Oh
the old
my
Blades,
goodness. No, I
yo.
haven't seen Blade, bro. You know what's
So
crazy? I've seen the Blade anime out of all things.
we gotta
Um,
do a Blade pod one of these days because Blade, like, it wasn't too long ago that I watched Blade for the first time either,
yeah,
and
I need to watch it.
I was watching it like, yo, I can't believe this is a '98 film
I'll
because
watch it soon, honestly.
it was so good. The first Blade was so good, and honestly, if I'm being honest, Blade Two is might be a little bit better than Blade One, but
Yeah.
there was there were some things about the first Blade that um there's something about the first Blade that just stick in my mind because I'm just like, yo, like this part of the movie was so good. This part of the movie was so good, and I have similar feelings about the second movie. So we should do a Blade Power one of these days.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we
yeah,
gotta talk Blade. Yeah,
in
Mahershala Ali is, and that's kind of a weird connection. I don't know about Black Knight's story or nothing, but it would make sense. I mean, because Blade is he old? Like, because vampires don't really they don't die. So is he like old? I forget, or is he born
so
in like normal in our time?
so the thing of Blade is that the thing about Blade is that he's a vampire,
Yeah, he's
but
half
like
human and half vampire.
he's half human, half vampire, so he still ages.
Okay, so he's like born, I guess like 20 something years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like I think his mom was bit uh at the time of his birth.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it was right at that moment that and that's why that's why he's not affected by the sun and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just curious about their connection. Like I don't know anything about how why Blade
all
would
right.
be like talking to
So
Black Knight of all
so
people.
what I was gonna say is that like the Blade and Black Knight Connection is kind of it's like it's not really like that strong of a connection, especially
Mhm.
because Kit Harington isn't Black Knight yet.
Mhm.
But um the blade is cursed, right? The blade of the Black Knight is cursed. And I've seen theories about I've seen theories of people saying that this could introduce the Midnight Suns.
Mhm. Yeah, I've seen
And
that too.
the Midnight Suns is a group of guys who are all cursed. And then with with the introduction of Moon Knight around the corner,
Mhm.
that could be a possibility because um Moon Knight, Blade, and Black Knight were all members of the Midnight Suns at different points in time. So this
Mm.
could so, so this could make it possible to see people um like Ghost Rider
Mhm.
and Doctor Strange is actually part of it. Believe it or not. Um, who else? The the Punisher was part of it. Um,
Yeah, this is gonna be
yeah,
interesting.
Midnight Suns. I'm kind of excited. Like I want to see if Marvel takes that turn because you know how we're talking about how Marvel doesn't really like to get that dark.
Mhm.
But
Right. If we get to see like
yeah,
Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, and Blade link up, I mean, come on, bro.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna have to get dark. And the second you introduce Blade into the MCU, you're gonna have to get dark because
Yeah.
Blade is pretty dark. I'm not gonna hold you.
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
Yeah, and that was like
um,
all the only like positive things though was like them little connections. Like I want to see Black Knight. I want to see Star Fox. Um, I want to see like what's happening in the future because this right here just wasn't it. I mean, I was bored out of my mind. Um,
I should I should give it some positives too. So, all right, so some of the positives for me in the movie were uh Karun as comedic relief was like pretty good.
hmm
Like Karun's little segment for comedic relief, it was funny. So I'll give him that. And Kingo was also funny as well. So that wasn't bad. I I wish I did. I wish we did get more of Black Knight though, because he was. I mean, he is an interesting character, and the fact that they didn't even touch on that part of. I mean, they did touch on it, but the fact that we didn't get as much as we thought we would, especially in a 2.5 hour movie, that's kind of upsetting. But at least we have the character now, so it's good that it could lead to something in the future, especially with the Blade connection. Um, another thing, um, I thought I thought the way, well, you know what, the whole reveal at the end of them actually being robots, it actually didn't really surprise me as much as I think other people were surprised.
it didn't
I don't I
surprise
don't
me at all.
I don't know why though. Like it didn't really because like they kind of had like robotic like tendencies from the beginning, especially with the way like they were created and everything, and the way that they would connect to is it Arishem? Yeah, the
Yeah,
way they
yeah,
would
yeah.
connect to Arishem, it almost seemed like um Arishem was like uh what's that called when you have not like a beacon. Well, let's just say Arishem was like a beacon to them. So yeah,
hmm
uh, it was like yeah, it didn't really surprise me that they were robots. So, but
And it didn't really surprise me that they were kind of out the loop, like how they didn't really know about what the Celestials did and stuff. Like it
right,
didn't that didn't really surprise me either. I mean, especially because knowing how Ego was, like yeah, he was Celestial, but you got to understand these people don't really have allegiance to anybody. Like they're just gods that live forever. So they're gonna do what's not. They're not gonna do what's best for one race of people. They're gonna do what's best for them, or they're gonna like they were saying they're making more celestials to keep the world like balanced or whatever. Like,
right. And then the fact that none of them got snapped, or there was no mention of any of them getting snapped during
hmm
the whole Thanos thing.
hmm
Like because they're not organic, the snap didn't affect them, right?
yeah, I guess it wouldn't, right?
Yeah. Okay. And then you know what? You know what else is funny? All right. So I don't know if they're really considered robots or not, but remember how in Loki, right? When in like the first episode, when he walked through the, or when he had that little montage of like him getting stripped down and then him going to the jumpsuit and then him signing the please make sure this is everything that you ever said, something like that.
hmm
And then like right after that, they were like walk through to see a temporal aura, right? And then he was like, no, he was like, please say that you're not a robot, right? And Loki was like, does a robot not know if he's a robot or not? You know what I mean? And then the
hmm
fact that the Eternals didn't really know that they're robots was kind of a funny connection in that sense. You know what I mean?
hmm
Yeah. So
Right. Then that's interesting too, because can they even have kids or something? Like,
right. But I mean, like yeah, like that was weird because um, like even though what's her name, Cersei was in a relationship with Black Knight, right? I'm just like, if she's an Eternal, like what does she expect out of the relationship other than um like companionship? Like
hmm
there's no way that she can like build a family.
hmm
This and this is like before even knowing that she's like a robot. Like
hmm
before yeah,
like
you know,
because
like what do
you're
you
just
expect?
living for thousands of years. Like,
Right. So that's why like the whole relationship with Icarus like made sense because it's like, you know, uh you're both eternal, so like it works.
hmm
Yeah, but I'll probably give it I'll probably give it like a 5.5 out of 10. Maybe a 5 out of 10. It wasn't the worst movie ever, but honestly, then like I don't think I'll watch it again. There's no need.
yeah, I'm never watching that again. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's the thing about it. It's not like horrible. It's not
Hmm.
like Thor 2 or what's another bad MCU movie? Because Thor 2 is horrible. Even you know what's crazy? Captain Marvel might be better than Eternals. Is that a hot take?
I don't disagree. No, Captain Marvel was actually like
Yo, at least it
with
had
all the
entertaining parts though.
entertaining parts, and it had a lot of like broader connections to the MCU and everything. So Captain
Yeah.
Marvel wasn't Captain Marvel wasn't bad compared to the Eternals.
Yo, like Eternals is just straight up boring. Like I wasn't bored when I watched Captain Marvel, even though that movie isn't very good either. Like I'd rate Captain Marvel a 5 out of 10 too, but that was a
Mm,
better five than
yeah.
Eternals five. Because like I said, bro, like a boring movie, especially a long boring movie, is just terrible.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for a movie to be 2 hours and 38 minutes. I mean, I'm thinking of some long movies that I've watched, but it's always because they're entertaining. There's only you everybody can't get away with making a 2 hour and 40 minute movie. Like recently I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If you
Mhm.
haven't seen it, you need to watch it. That movie
I still
is
haven't seen it actually.
yo, you need to watch it. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, but it's entertaining the entire time. And the crazy part about it is the plot is nothing crazy. Like I'm not gonna say nothing about it, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The premise isn't even nothing crazy. Mind you, we have a movie that's about like gods and fighting monsters and all this, and it's way more boring than a movie that's like a bunch of like two guys driving around Hollywood, California, and the one guy is like an actor and he's kind of washed up and he's trying to get like get back to being more relevant. That's like what the
Mm.
movie is about. And but because Quentin Tarantino is a good writer, you could take something, you don't need spectacle and all this CGI and all this nonsense because it's just entertaining. The dialogue is entertaining. You want to see what happens next with these
Right.
characters. And it's just sad that you have a movie that was, probably 10 times more expensive and it's just so boring. I watched recently I watched Apocalypse Now and it was the Redux version, which is like 3 hours. And I tell you,
Jeez.
there's not a boring moment because when you have interesting things, you have interesting characters, crazy scenes, um, and that's a movie that's about the Vietnam War. Another one you need to watch. But
Apocalypse Now.
yeah, but it's
Mm.
like when you see something that's 2.5, 2 hours and 43 hours, you kind of just like, man, am I gonna waste my time? Because that's a long time to be sitting there in one spot just staring at a screen. So you really want to get your money's worth and your time's worth. So
What's the perfect runtime for a movie, in your opinion?
I mean, I don't really think there is a perfect runtime. I mean, there's movies that I love that are an hour and a half. They're 90 minutes. They're quick, but they do their job well. And
Yeah.
like I said, there's also 3 hour movies that I love, and 4 hour movies. Well, there's a few. Only like less than five, I think. I haven't seen that many 4 hour movies, but you know, it just it's just about what you do with that time, really. Um, I don't think most. I think most movies don't need to be 2.5 to 3 or 4. Um, but if you're trying to introduce a bunch of characters, you might have to, or if you have an interesting story that's going to be entertaining, then you can do a 2 and 40 minute movie. I mean, I've seen it a few times.
Sometimes I don't like short movies. Like
Yeah.
movies that are too short. Yeah, like I especially if I know like how complex the if from the trailer I can see like how complex the story is gonna be.
Mhm,
Like the movie has to be like at least 2 hours, or not at least 2. Yeah, like at least 2 hours, like 2 hours, 2:15, something like that.
mhm,
Like when I was going to watch Venom, right? I looked at the runtime before I got in the movie, and it said something like 97 minutes, and I was like, "What?" I
mhm.
was like, "This movie is short," and because of that, like I I kind of expected there to be like a little bit of a pacing issue in the movie, and there kind of was. Like I didn't
Mhm.
really like I feel like Venom 2 was like rushed a little bit, and so sometimes like I kind of understand, but like in the case of Eternals, like you didn't need to. This movie didn't need to be two 240, 2 hours and 40 minutes. You're right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and there's movies that I like that are even sometimes barely over an hour. Hour and 10 minutes. But it's about what you do with that time. And like I said, if you're focusing
Right.
on one character, yeah, you can get away with you know a shorter movie because everybody doesn't need to be um explored. I watched a movie recently, La Haine. It's a French movie, um, which you need to watch. Another one, and it's only 98 minutes. I mean, So it's
Is
like
it in
it's
French?
yeah. Um so yeah, like but it's fire. It's about like I don't even know what was going on. It was like there was like civil unrest in France in the 90s, so people were rioting and stuff. It's about, some young people trying to navigate that world and stuff. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Hmm.
that's another one you need to watch, and it's a movie that I really love, and it's only 98 minutes. I mean, it's about what you do with the time more than trying to say, oh, I need to get to this amount of footage, or I mean this amount of time in the movie. I mean, I've seen, there's also bad short movies because, like you said, I mean, it could be rushed or it doesn't do anything. It doesn't explore anybody. So yeah, Eternals is pretty pretty boring. I'd say I don't know if I want to call it bad. It's like borderline bad. I mean, I said I rated a 5 out of 10, so that's like smack in the
5
middle.
out of 10 is pretty bad. That's 50%.
But that's
That's an
like,
F in my book.
but that's like you got to think about it like this though. Like, all right, 10 is like perfect, right? And then a one is
Yeah.
like just completely horrible. But like a five is like right in the middle. So I'd say it's like mediocre.
Okay.
Like that's really how I feel about it. I don't like I said before, it doesn't really do anything that's like dumb or stupid.
Right.
Um yeah, and one problem that I just can't get over with Marvel is everything just looks so generic. Their visual style is just so generic. I mean, can they do anything different? Can they do
Right.
anything different in the visual department? Um,
I I feel like the only thing that they've ever done differently is like if you get like a director like James Gunn, you can kind of see his style in like
mhm,
in the Guardians of the Galaxy like a little bit
mhm,
in terms of the way like the camera angles work, especially like in a good example is like in the second one in the second Guardians of the Galaxy the the opening fight against against that monster from space.
yeah, yeah,
Like the camera angles for that fight were really good.
yeah. And I will say this: I didn't really like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
that was one of the better looking movies of the MCU. It might be one of the best. I gotta watch them again. I
Hmm.
probably never will watch all the MCU movies again, just because there's so many at this point. But Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a really great looking movie. So yeah, and especially with James Gunn's work in Suicide Squad. I mean, if Marvel would give him more creative control and the directors in general, because I've said it before, if you look at all the MCU movies, you can't even tell if it's a different director.
Right.
Like it doesn't even matter. Whereas if you just watch other stuff, like you could tell when someone has their own style, whether it's good or
Hmm.
bad. You can usually tell if someone has a style. But when it comes, especially with like these franchises, I mean, there's a lot more. It seems to be a lot more corporate meddling, so they don't really allow creators to really show what they got. I think, like when it comes to Marvel, and people like to rag on DC a lot, but I know the DCEU has been pretty messy. But one thing you can say about it is that each movie has a different feel. Like
Yeah.
from Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then Shazam, Aquaman, Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. I mean, they all have a different feel.
I I would argue that um Superman versus Batman and Dawn of Justice, Justice League, eh, eh,
Well,
yeah, Superman,
the only ones that I think have the same feel is Batman vs Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I really think,
right,
I think those movies are almost like the same movie, but just long as hell.
right,
Because that's even different
exactly,
than Man of Steel, even though it's the same director. Man of Steel, has a different style than BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm not even gonna talk about Justice League because that's just a waste of energy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, but you're right about Aquaman
hmm
and Suicide Squad especially.
yeah, and Shazam and Wonder
Um,
Woman. I mean, they all have a different style about them.
right. Wonder Woman at one point, well, actually, it's still up there for me. Wonder Woman is one of my favorites out of that universe right now. The first one, at least.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, the second one was horrible, but
Yeah, the second one, I probably need to watch again.
yeah, yeah. The first one was pretty good. I need to rewatch it actually.
Yeah, but let's get let's get back on track. What's it called?
Yeah,
Um, let's get into Boba Fett.
yeah. Let's talk about something good that happened today.
Yeah, let's get into Boba Fett, bruh. I'm super excited. First of all,
Let's talk about
yeah,
episode. What was it? 5? Last week's episode first.
well, first let's issue like a little spoiler warning. Spoiler
Oh
warning
yeah, 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 yeah,
if you have not watched Boba Fett up to this point, we're
yeah. Up
now
to
on episode
episode
six.
6.
Yeah, if
Yeah, we
you haven't
are.
watched Boba Fett up to episode 6, then please do not listen any further. Go and watch that first, and then come back to this,
Yeah, we
please.
are spoiling, boy.
Yeah, we're about to spoil
Spoiling.
everything. All right, but yo, Boba Fett, these last two episodes, honestly, have been ridiculous. And
Yeah,
the the sad part is Boba Fett not even in them.
I know, right?
Boba, Boba Fett's not even in these last two episodes, but they were just so crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First of
Um,
all, we had Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. Yo, that man's.
bro,
First of all, I still can't get over how clean his fit is. Like,
bro, his clean is so fit. I mean, fit is so clean. Bro, his fit is so clean. You're
yeah,
right.
that man pulled up to the meat shop and was just like, as soon as he walked through that door, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was just like, yo, yeah, this man, like, um, yeah, he walked through the curtains, and I was just like, wow,
hmm
I kind of missed this.
He
And then like,
he was actually using the dark saber.
yeah, he was using the dark saber, and I was like, okay, like this is the first time, like we actually see him wield it, because
Hmm
even though he got it in the end of season 2 of the Mandalorian, he didn't use it. This is the first time you see him using it. Um, so that was cool.
hmm
Uh, it I kind of like how they show him struggling with the dark saber at first, because I like how you can see, like, I like what stuff like that does for the character development. So it's
hmm
like, it's a new weapon he's not used to. Um, so let's have him struggle at first.
Yeah,
And
and they're actually paying attention to the lore because the dark saber is different than a lightsaber.
right.
It's actually really heavy. So if you've seen if you've seen Star Wars Rebels, then they kind of did that rundown too when Sabine was training with it.
Right.
They showed how it's heavy and explained that it's different than a lightsaber because a lightsaber is supposed to be weightless. Besides the hilt, the actual handle, the
Mm-hmm.
beam is weightless. So it's like really easy to just swing around and stuff. You really just have to build your swordsmanship skills with it.
Yeah.
Um, but the dark saber is something you really got to get used to, even if you are a Jedi or a force user. So
Right.
I like
It
how they showed that, and yeah,
and I kind of, what's it called? All right. So episode 5 was interesting because you kind of see Mando in a different place that, like, we haven't seen him in a place like this in a while.
hmm
Like uh he kind of seemed like a little bit sloppy, but like like he's like a powerful character.
Hmm.
So, but to see him be like as sloppy as he was like in that one fight, and in that opening fight, and then like to see how violent like he got, like that fight with the dark saber was kind of like was pretty like probably the most violent that we've seen in
Hmm.
live action, especially in Star Wars. Like he cut that guy in half on the
Oh
table.
no, no, no. In Star Wars live action, we've seen some pretty violent stuff, bro.
Well, yeah,
You
but
gotta think.
not in a while.
No, yeah, it was not since Disney took over. Not since
Yeah,
Disney
not
took
since
over.
Disney took over. Right,
But yeah, I was about to say that too. Like I was surprised they actually showed him cut that guy in half with the
right.
dark saber. And see, this is a little off topic, but like it's the Disney trilogy, man. It's almost tradition, right? It's like in Star Wars, somebody has to get a limb chopped off. In every single thing,
Oh yeah. Uh huh.
somebody's limb gets cut off. I mean, in the original trilogy, we see Luke's hand get cut off. We see
Right.
Vader's hand get cut off. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, in the prequels, we see Darth Maul get cut in half. We see Anakin's hand get cut off, and
Yeah.
in Revenge of the Sith, I mean, we see Dooku get his hands cut off, then his head cut off. We see freaking Anakin get his arm and legs cut off, then burnt. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's like
Crazy.
we see people getting chopped up left and right. And don't even
Yeah,
get me
people.
started
Yeah,
on the Clone Wars, how many people we see get cut. We see people's arms and hands. Ahsoka cuts off like five guys' heads at the same time. I mean,
yeah,
there's just limbs getting cut off all over the place. But freaking Star Wars Rebels doesn't even show anybody get shot, and the sequel trilogy doesn't even show nobody's hands get cut off. Come on, you got to cut somebody's hand off, bro.
yeah.
What are you
You have
doing?
to cut somebody's hand off.
Yeah, we're
Somebody's hand
seeing
has to get cut.
yeah we're seeing the Mandalorian cut somebody in half. That's what I like
Yeah,
to
I
see.
was like, all right, facts. I was like, okay, and then to deliver him, he had to cut his head off and wrap it
Yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah,
cloth. But yeah, like Mando didn't really seem like he was in the best place, and
yeah,
I kind of, it was kind of like obvious that like he misses Grogu, and
yeah,
like right
yeah.
now it was like he, well, I I don't want to say that he didn't have a mission because he was trying to meet up with the other Mandalorians, but that main mission of all of season two was finding the new home for Grogu because or finding a new safe place for Grogu because there are people that were hunting him. So now that mission is completed, we see him now struggling without Grogu because Grogu was part of his like clan of two,
Hmm.
that symbol that he has in his shoulder. So um yeah, episode five, between episode five and six, we actually got so much, like a ridiculous amount of
Hmm.
information and cameos and everything. And I was just so surprised. I was surprised that we got all this. It felt like, well, I've heard people I've heard people coin it Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, I kind of like it because, like you said, he's trying to link up with all the Mandalorians, and they kind of planted that seed in Mandalorian season two. I mean,
Right.
remember Boba Fett was like, "Mandalore isn't that place like dead or whatever?" Like I don't remember his exact line, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, because he had mentioned it to Boba, and I'm ready for that um storyline to get going too, because that's just something that's real interesting. The whole Mandalore story. It's always been interesting, even in Clone Wars, but yeah, and also it's funny because what Din Djarin's like idea of the Mandalorians are is wrong.
Right.
Like he's because his little group, they got crazy because of what happened to their planet. They kind of took up these weird traditions like never taking off the helmet. Like, bro,
Mhm.
your Mandalorians take off their helmets, bro.
Yeah.
Like you can take off your helmet. First of all, you can take off your helmet. Um, I just want to see how they interact. Like I want to see the armorer and Paz Vizsla interact with like Bo-Katan and Boba Fett and other Mandalorians because they got the wrong idea, man. I mean,
So all right. So the thing with me, right, or the thing that I realized is that like this episode 5, was so well directed. Like this episode was directed perfectly
mhm,
because you don't even know that like episode 5, or at least the first part, episode 5, is about the dark saber.
right, right.
Like and the fact that the dark saber shows up within the first 2-3 minutes of the episode, and like that was like the introduction of the story arc, um of the live action story arc of that weapon.
Hmm.
It was kind of cool because we learned throughout the episode a lot of the history behind it, and what it means to a lot of people in this universe. So what it means to Paz Vizsla is that it's a family heirloom.
Hmm.
That's why he tried to fight to get it back. What it
Right.
means to the armorer is that it to whoever wields it uh must have gained it through combat, or else if they if they didn't, that means that their reign over Mandalore will be cursed. And what we learn about that even further is that if you look back to Rebels, um, if you look back to Rebels, Sabine gifted it to Bo-Katan,
Yeah, that's why Bo-Katan lost it.
and that's why Bo-Katan lost it, because it was gifted and she's not winning in combat.
Yep.
And I think what was going on, uh, um, what's the name? The armorer gave us the history of how Mandalore was destroyed, right?
Hmm.
And what I'm thinking is that Mandalore was destroyed under Bo-Katan's rule, and that is why
It might have been, yeah.
when when Din Djarin is uh trying to offer the sword to Bo-Katan on the
Yeah, that's why
on the
she was
Starfighter,
mad.
and that's why she wasn't going to accept it, because she
Hmm.
knows what happened last time.
Yeah, yeah.
What happened last time?
Whoa,
She
whoa,
took it
whoa,
when she
whoa,
didn't
whoa.
earn it properly.
Nah, because well, yeah, that's why she didn't want because she didn't win it in combat. But wasn't Mandalore already destroyed in Star Wars Rebels?
No, was it?
I'm trying to remember because in Rebels it was all barren. Trying to think. Because I'm trying to remember. Did Mandalore get destroyed like right when the Clone Wars ended? Well,
No.
what they showed
So
was Empire era droids. So no, I don't think so.
yeah,
Yeah, it was like it was after.
yeah, because Mandalore wasn't destroyed once Maul left. Like that siege of Mandalore didn't destroy Mandalore.
No, but I'm saying after like it wasn't shown in the Clone Wars, but like right after like right after Order 66 happened, because after that they were occupied by the Empire. So I'm just wondering like how long it took Mandalore to get destroyed. So yeah, yeah, you're
Hmm.
probably right then. You're probably right then.
No, I okay. Hmm. Well, anyway, Bo-Katan lost the dark saber to uh
Yeah, Gideon. Wait, that's his name?
yeah, to Moff Gideon.
Yeah, yeah,
Bo-Katan lost the dark saber to Moff Gideon, right? And then during that time is when Mandalore was destroyed, which caused um, which, which is the reason why the um, well, no, because the armor also said that the only thing that saved their clan with Paz Vizsla and all the other Mandalorians that we saw back in season 1 was the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they were on Concordia, the moon,
Mm-hmm.
when that happened. So it was just so much history behind the dark saber
Right.
that we got in this episode, which I loved it. I loved it all. I was like, yo, this is actually so crazy
Right. And I like
because
how they showed. Now go ahead.
the the fact that you can like build a story around a weapon is like it's not unheard of, but it's it's kind of new in it's kind of new. Like we haven't seen much of that in Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like how I like how they did that.
And I like how they showed that when Paz Vizsla tried to pick up the dark saber, that
Hmm.
he was still struggling with it too.
Right, and that is the reason why he lost. If you
Yeah,
think
yeah,
about it,
yeah. Even though he's like way bigger and physically stronger.
yeah, it was so much attention to detail in this episode. I
Yeah.
was like, wow, like like they're really giving us a lot. Like in these past 2 episodes, you can really break it down. It
Hmm.
was really Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And man, you could
but
just tell like that the people making this really care about Star Wars. When I don't think you could really tell that before, like during the sequel trilogy.
mhm,
And you know it's true. It's a fact that they didn't because um it was Ryan Johnson that basically said like he doesn't like he that he don't even care if the audience likes it, that he wants the audience to be divided. He's the one that directed The Last Jedi. And that's what happened. He made the worst Star Wars movie ever. First of all, well, yeah, he made the worst Star Wars movie ever, and divided the fan base. That's not that shouldn't be your goal. Like, and I'm not saying your goal as a filmmaker should be a people pleaser too, but what I'm saying is when you're doing something like a Star Wars or a Marvel, an established franchise, there's a history behind that. There's a history behind the characters you're working with. It's not like it's a clean slate to just do whatever you want. So I think when you're doing something like that, there's something you gotta pay respect to. Like you can't have a movie about Captain America and you show him killing helpless people because that's just not in his character. Like, why would you do that? Just like how they handled Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy. It was ridiculous. I don't understand what they were doing. Um, so it's just nice to see like the people, Dave Filoni and John Favreau and everyone under them. They seem to really care about Star Wars. They really know about the lore. I mean, they're really bringing back characters and things from all the other properties. I mean, like you could just tell that they care. I think that's the most important. Like I think when you have people that are doing something, that are in charge of a franchise like this, it should be
mhm,
people that are fans of the franchise. Like whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, DC, whatever it is. If it's an established thing, like the people that are in charge of it should be fans of it instead of people just wanting to do whatever they want and put their own agendas. That's not where you do that. And if you want to, and the crazy part about it, Ryan Johnson, um, I think Ryan Johnson is a good filmmaker. He's a good director. I watched Knives Out, and that's a great movie. But that's
right,
your own movie, though. That's something that you came up with. So you could do
mhm,
whatever you want with that. You have all the freedom in the world to do what you want with that. Just like, why would you show Luke Skywalker as some grumpy old man and he just like throws Anakin's lightsaber over his shoulder like it was nothing? Like, what are you talking
yeah,
about? Like, what are
yeah,
you doing? And I could go on for a long time about that, but
mhm.
yeah, I just wanted to say that you could really just tell that the people that are in charge of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, all the stuff that's coming out now, they really care about. what they're doing. So it's just nice to
Right.
see.
It is nice to see. This episode was actually directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, and she she actually directed two Mandalorian episodes. I think one from each season
Hmm.
that were both really good and really well received by the audience. So like this is just like her continuing on her streak of
Hmm.
good directing. Um,
Yeah, let's keep it going.
and then right, and I didn't look to see who directed this last episode. Uh, but oh, actually, yeah, I did. I think it was directed by Filoni. I think so.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know why? Because Ahsoka was in it.
yeah, because Ahsoka was in it. Ahsoka
Everything
was
that
in it.
Ahsoka is in is gonna be directed by Dave
It's gonna be
Filoni.
directed by Dave Filoni. So I I was about to drop another character, but I was gonna save it for a little bit later because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was
We
gonna
go
say
go
like,
through the episode by order.
all right, we'll go through episode by order. Okay, so all right, so the last episode was fantastic, right?
Hmm.
This episode 6, picked up kind of right where the last. All right, so no, it picks up and we get um a character back from season 2 of Mandalorian. We get back Cobb Vanth in the
Hmm.
very beginning,
Yep.
and he was kind of like a sight for sore eyes because you're like, wow, like we're on Tatooine for 4 episodes, and we really haven't seen much of like Tatooine other than like the Mod Gang and a little bit of the Huts, and then like the rest of it was flashbacks. So it was kind of so Cobb Vanth was like a sight for sore eyes to see, right? And a nice little standoff scene in the beginning.
Yep.
Um, and then we continue on to a continuation from last episode where we finish off we finish off Mando's arc
Oh, oh.
on
Before we get into that, I gotta say it was nice to see a Naboo starfighter repurposed into
oh right
a new cool ship.
right yeah, because that like along with a lot of the ships in Star Wars, like I just love the designs of like a lot
Hmm.
of the stuff, a lot of the ships
Hmm.
they have, and the Naboo starfighter is one of the ones that
Yep.
are like really stands out.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just another example of these people that are in charge. They really care because they're doing stuff. They're really paying respect to George Lucas and everything that he created. Whereas in the sequel trilogy, I've talked about this with people. It's like they didn't even design any new ships or anything like that. That was really iconic. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the original trilogy was, they had the TIE fighters, they had the X-Wings, they had the Star Destroyers, they had all kind of stuff. All the rebel cruisers, the Mon Cala ships. And then in the prequels, there's so many, designs from characters to the ships and the Jedi fighters, the Naboo fighters, Dooku's ship and Padme's ship, and I could go on and on. From Darth Maul to General Grievous.
Hmm.
Um, you know, but the sequel trilogy didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
They were
Sequel
still,
trilogy.
yeah, they're still using TIE fighters and X-Wings and Star
Hmm.
Destroyers. Like I don't understand why they didn't even make anything new. Like it's still stormtroopers and the resistance. I mean, they're just rebels. They're even wearing
Right.
almost the same clothes. I mean, Jesus. Y'all can't even come up with a new, aesthetic to it, like a new look.
Right.
I just don't understand that. So, with these you're seeing more more cool stuff. I like the Razor Crest was a cool looking ship
The
for
Razor Crest was cool.
for Mandalorian, and now they got a repurposed Naboo starfighter for him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, this episode, what's it called? It pretty much finished off like the Mando arc or the short Mando arc with uh like in the last episode he repurposed the Beskar spear
Hmm.
into into armor for Grogu, which
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to gift to him. Um, but the the thing about the thing about the whole Jedi Order, and the thing about the whole Jedi Order is while they're training, they need to learn to detach themselves from all attachments,
Mm-hmm.
all emotional attachments. So, um, Mando seeing Grogu again would really interrupt that process, especially because of how of of how tightly they were bonded
Mm-hmm.
like before. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool the way that like they were constantly like trying to explain that to Mando. Like the armor said that, Ahsoka said that in
Yeah.
season two. Ahsoka had to say it again. And then like it's kind of like in the Jedi Order, it's kind of like a very important process and something that like really needs to be respected in order to continue their training. So the fact that they like really um, highlighted the importance of that was kind of cool to me in this episode, and the way that Mando actually said that that was like the opposite of um how the Mandalorians have their creed. It's kind of cool to see like the Mandalorians are trained to be like the the fighting Mandalorians are trained to be like the fighting equal of a Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool to see like how the two different lifestyles like really butt heads in that way. You know what I
You
mean?
know, I think I think something interesting is going to happen because, well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of skipping to the end, but first of all, I got to mention Luke Skywalker is back again, and it's the
Oh
Luke,
yeah,
and it's this is like how we should be portraying Luke, not some grumpy old man.
right.
That's just ridiculous. I mean,
And also the CGI was way better than it was in Mando season two.
yeah, 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 it was,
The 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 deep fake
yeah, yeah,
facial swap. Yeah,
yeah. But um, you
way
know,
better.
we see Luke as like a hopeful. He's still a hopeful young man who's trying to rebuild the Jedi. Um, we know he's powerful at this point, even though he doesn't really show it because that's just the kind of person he is. He's not just gonna be flaunting it for no reason. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it's like a complete contrast between the sequel trilogy. I mean, mind you, in the original trilogy, right, Luke Skywalker is like the ultimate. He's like the ultimate hero. I mean, this is a guy who saw his father be like a half robot guy, and he's like the most evil person on the planet, right? He's killed who knows how many people, thousands, millions of people, right? And he still
Right.
is, and he still is trying to get him to turn to the light side, right?
Mhm.
Even at the end, his father cut his hand off, and he kicked him down a well, he didn't kick him, he fell down a garbage chute, and he's hanging off the bottom of Cloud City, and he still thinks at that point he could turn his father to the light side after all of that. And then in the sequel trilogy, first of all, we didn't even see this. We see it in like some stupid flashback that Luke attacks Ben Solo because he might turn to the dark side.
Oh
That's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like someone that is trying to turn Darth Vader to the light side. He attacks a teenager because he might turn to the dark side. That's
Mhm.
just so dumb. Like I don't understand how anybody would think that's a good idea. Those are completely different people.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even anything bad that happened at that point to turn them into that kind of person.
Mhm.
So I don't understand what they were doing there. And just again, these people, Dave Filoni and John Favreau, they're the two main people at the top, are really trying to do Luke justice. I mean, they're showing him he's training Grogu. He's
Mhm.
using what he learned from his training to better the next generation. He's trying to rebuild. But
I
yeah,
just I just want to say that that the training montage between Grogu and Luke was like it was kind of refreshing in a way because
Mm-hmm.
it was like so reminiscent of the training montage of Luke and Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
but it was like reversed in that way, and that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of cool. Like I really enjoyed that part of the episode. I thought it was I thought it was well portrayed, and like you start to see like you finally start to see Grogu like get like a little more control of the
Mm-hmm.
Force, which is like refreshing because he's been struggling with trying to get like his reins on it for 2 seasons so far,
Yeah.
and now that we get like this nice little like uh this brief moment of it, it's kind of cool, and the fact that um because we learned in the last season that Grogu actually isn't as young as we think he is because his species lives for his species lives a lot longer than like a normal human. So he's a lot
Yeah.
older than we think he is. Um
Yeah. He's like
so
if
it
he's like
was
50 years old.
yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that we actually see or it's kind of cool that Luke said that, it's not that I'm really teaching him, but he's kind of like unlocking his memories as we go along and
Yeah.
he's kind of like regaining his knowledge. So
Yes.
that was really
Speaking of unlocked memories,
yeah,
shout out to the
that was
501st
really cool.
Legion.
And
Let's go. I mean,
then right,
it was
right.
Order 66. It was a sad time, but I gotta say,
I know.
whenever I get to see live action clones and they was doing their job,
Hmm.
they was doing their job well. 501st Legion, let's go.
But nah, what was cool is that like so another thing that we saw right is that you know how like Ben Solo right the way that he used his force powers to try and get memories out of people
Hmm.
that was actually something that he learned from Luke
Hmm.
because you saw Luke use it in you saw Luke use that ability in this situation and you're like okay like now we know um because like a lot of people like the dark side of the force because they think that the light side of the force has its limitations right
Hmm.
but now we're starting to learn that the light side of the force also has like it may not be as limited as we think it is just and I I I I like to believe that they are equal. Like light and dark side of the forces are equal, but a lot of people think as dark side is better. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's kind of cool in the situation to see that um one of the cool abilities that Ben Solo had to help people unlock their memories was something that he learned from Luke, and
Hmm.
you see Luke using the light side of the force, which is cool.
Right.
Um,
And the dark side, the forces, light side and dark side are equal. I mean, the dark side might make you be able to be more powerful, but there's always a trade-off. Like for instance,
right,
if you notice, all dark side users' body deteriorates faster.
right.
So you see it in like all the Sith. There's always like something wrong with them. Even going back to the old Republic Sith,
Hmm.
Palpatine looks all old and decrepit.
I know.
It was even starting to happen to Vader, even though he was burnt, but he could never really heal himself back.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, the dark side, it like corrupts people's body and makes them deteriorate. But the light side doesn't do that, even though you might not be able to be as powerful as someone who's a master of the dark side. But there's a trade-off for everything.
Right. And yeah, so I mean like as the episode goes on, like we get like even though we got so much so like at this point of the episode, we still haven't seen Boba, right?
Hmm.
And that we see Boba for a brief moment. He doesn't even speak. Uh actually Fennec Shand does the talking because it was at this point that Mando had Mando decided not to see Grogu, but he left the gifts with Ahsoka. And
Hmm.
what he did was he went back to Tatooine. He went back to Tatooine, and then they went over the plan. Um, what happened? Oh, Mando said he has an idea of how to get more troops for the
Hmm.
imminent war that was coming up. So he goes to Cobb Vanth, to Cobb Vanth town, and he pays him a visit and says that things are going on in Tatooine, like you may not be aware, but like sooner or later it's going to become your problem whether like you like it or not. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
and Cobb Vanth knew this because of what happened earlier on in the episode, or the first scene in the episode, which was which was kind of funny. So I was like, okay,
Hmm.
like I thought like immediately that Cobb Vanth was going to be down, but like he wasn't, which is kind of strange to me, right? And then, bro, after after this moment, he says, "Okay, you know what? Like, I'll let you know. I'll let you know what's where I decide." Right. So at the point of Mando leaving, like this was like the best part of the episode for me, right? Because like they set this up so well, right?
Hmm.
Because like the look on Cobb Vanth's face was like exactly how I was feeling,
Yeah.
right? I was like, I was like, yo, I know exactly how he's feeling. So as soon as Mando left, right, and we see that silhouette in the distance, I knew exactly who it was, and I couldn't contain myself. I was just like, yo, there's no way. Like I was like, there's no way that this is happening. And the funny thing is, like, even though he was showing up, I didn't know what was gonna go down next. But I was just nervous the whole time. Were you were you feeling the same way?
Yeah, it definitely was. Like they really built that tension, man.
Yo, tension.
And there's just even more to this scene with the man, Cad Bane, appearing
Yo,
in the Book of
Cad
Boba
Bane.
Fett. There's a lot to talk about here. Because first of all, they have a standoff like cowboys
Hmm.
with Cobb Vanth, and I'm guessing that Cobb Vanth is gonna survive.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
but Cad Bane has a standoff with Cobb Vanth, and it was funny because Cobb Vanth had a standoff with those pikes, and he wins, right?
Hmm.
He shoots those two pikes and lets the one live and run away. But he has a standoff with Cad Bane, so he don't know Cad Bane is that guy.
But Cad Bane is that guy.
And
Jeez.
during the Clone Wars, he was the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. And in
Hmm.
Boba's time, Boba was supposed to be the best bounty hunter. But see, I think this is going to be the big showdown at the end. Is going to be between Boba Fett and Cad Bane. Because remember what I told you about the unfinished Clone Wars animation,
Yeah.
where it was supposed to be like the moment where Boba really becomes his own is when he has a standoff with Cad Bane and he beats him and shoots him in the head, but
Hmm.
how Cad Bane somehow survived, and that's why he had that plate on his head in the Bad Batch.
In the Bad Batch.
So
Right.
so I'm wondering like if that's canon still. So all this time, Cad Bane is like I don't know if he has like a grudge against Boba Fett or whatever, but yeah, and then and Cad Bane, he's always having a standoff in everything he appears in.
Yo,
Um,
this is the second Cad Bane standoff in less than a year.
yeah, because
Because
in the unfinished Clone Wars reel, he has a standoff with Boba Fett. In the Bad
mhm.
Batch, he has the standoff with Hunter. It beats Hunter,
Yeah, beats Hunter. Yeah, crazy.
and then he has the standoff with Cobb Vanth. So, um, yeah, it was really cool to see Cad Bane in live action. Um, They still
Yo,
did the voice and everything. I mean,
yo, the
he's just such a
voice,
cool character, like his
yo,
design and
so
everything.
cool.
And
I was
like,
like, so all right. So at first, right, when when Cad Bane shows up, right, I was like shaking. I was like, yo, this is crazy, because like they set up Cobb Vanth as a character that like we like him now, right? Like
hmm
he's cool,
right,
and
right,
then Cad Bane is like a character like he's not a good guy, but he's a
right,
character like everybody loves
right, right.
still, right? So then it's like you set up two characters that everybody likes now, and then like like it was kind of obvious that Cad Bane was gonna come out on top, because like it's just like
Yeah, yeah,
you know
because
who he is,
he's just the baddest dude. Like,
yeah. But like the thing is, like they didn't show his eyes for a minute, and I was like, yo, you gotta show the eyes, you gotta show
right,
the
right.
eyes,
I'm like, yo, show
because
his face, bro.
because like his design, like live action, like I didn't expect it to be that scary.
Yo, because the
You know what I
teeth
mean?
and
Like,
everything. Yeah,
yo, the teeth, like the mouth, the eyes. I was like, yo, this is kind of like scary, bro.
yo, I'm like, yo, this
Like,
is a mean
like,
looking dude, bro. What the
yo,
heck?
you can like you can see the fear in Cobb Vanth's eyes, and like low key, his partner messes up for him,
Yeah.
because like his partner didn't even have his thing unhooked. He didn't even have his gun unhooked, and then
Yeah,
he reached for his gun, and then I think that's why like I think Cad Bane peeped
yeah.
that
That's why he shot him
he wasn't
multiple
even, he
times.
peeped that he wasn't even ready, right?
Yeah,
So then he shot Cobb Vanth first, since Cobb was ready, and Cobb was distracted, so he shot Cobb Vanth first, and then he didn't even draw his gun yet, and he already had three bullets in the other his partner, and
yeah.
I was like, yo, Cad Bane, like this is a mean dude, bro.
Yo, Cad Bane is tough, bro. What
Bro,
the
Cad Bane
heck?
is tough. I and like the thing is, like they showed everything. So they showed like the like he keeps ammo around his ankles. So they
Hmm
showed that, and I was just like, yeah, like they got it right. Like this character design is crazy.
Yeah,
They had they had the joints coming out of his neck, the
yeah.
tubes coming out of his neck, and then the back piece. I was waiting to see his droid. I was like, where's his droid at?
Right, right.
Yeah,
I want to see a plate on his head too, but he didn't take his hat off.
yeah. He'll probably take it on next episode. But then, so then, like, the funny thing was, like, I fully expected Cad Bane to be one of the recruits for Boba Fett, right?
Nah, nah,
But
nah,
then,
nah.
I was thinking about it further, and I was just like, you know what? It wouldn't make sense,
Yeah,
because
because
of the
they got
history
beef.
between
Yeah,
them.
they got
Yeah,
beef.
because they got beef. So then I was like, yo, like this is kind of interesting, because I did not like I was not thinking that they were gonna bring in Cad Bane as an antagonist. So I'm just like, yo, like now this is about to be crazy. And at that moment, I hit you up, and I was like, we gotta talk about this episode.
Because I ain't even watch it yet. I don't think when you hit me up. So I was just like, I didn't really know what was in it. So I knew that probably Din Djarin would be in it again, but I didn't expect all this. I didn't expect Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, train with Grogu and
Yo, it was
freaking Order
crazy.
66 flashbacks and
This episode was like a movie, bro.
yo, it really was. Like there was just so
I was
much,
like, yo,
bro.
everybody's in this. Yeah. And all right, so what I was gonna say before is that like, um, it was directed by Filoni, and you can tell because Cad Bane is also a Filoni character.
hmm hmm
Uh, Cad Bane and Ahsoka are both Filoni characters, so um, like it made sense that he was the director. When both of like his biggest characters are in it, and I was just
Yo,
like the even like the title of the episode, uh, it was like that one stranger in the desert, something like that. So it
Mm-hmm.
started off with Cobb Vanth in the desert. So I was like, okay, like it's about him, and then like he's like a stranger to Boba Fett. So I thought that was the connection. But the stranger in the desert was talking about Cad Bane, to be honest. And the episode started off with Cobb Vanth in the desert, like when he stood when he was the standoff against the Pikes, and that was like I thought that the connection between the title and that was going to be like Cobb Vanth was the next person that they were going to get on board to Boba's team, which I thought was cool. But then the I realized at the end that the stranger in the desert was actually Cad Bane.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like you know what, that that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So I'm just super excited to see the uh where episode 7 goes. I'm kind of the only thing that I was like really upset with these episodes is that like I really think that they could have found ways to fit Boba Fett in. Um, and I'm kind of upset that we didn't get like a single word from him
Yeah.
in 2 episodes of his own show. Like I think like it was kind of it was kind of cool. No, actually, it was really cool what we got in these past 2 episodes. Like it was like amazing television. I was just like, yo, this is like this is the kind of like pacing, action, storyline that like I needed
Yeah.
from the show. But I'm just upset that we didn't get this from the main character. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, they really could have found ways to fit him in. But hopefully, next episode is focused mainly on him. Um, and that way, like he doesn't go outside because if you don't,
I will.
yeah, yeah, hopefully, like yeah, because it's your show. You gotta go out strong.
Yeah, he definitely will. And then at the end, uh Luke made Grogu pick between the Beskar
Oh
armor
yeah,
and the lightsaber. And I kind of think like I think he's wrong, but I think something's gonna happen because they mentioned it that the dark saber was created by the first Mandalorian Jedi.
hmm
And I am thinking that they're gonna make Grogu a Mandalorian Jedi. That's what I think. I'm calling it now.
wow,
It may not happen right now. Like it may
hmm
not happen right now. I think he's gonna pick either the lightsaber or the Beskar right now. But I think as he grows up and gets older, I think he's gonna want to reconnect with his other side. You feel me?
right,
And
hmm
I think he's gonna be a Mandalorian Jedi. He's gonna be the second Mandalorian Jedi because um I think I think because Luke is still pretty young, I don't think he realized that one of the big mistakes of the Jedi is that they don't allow people to have attachment. Um,
right,
so the problem with that is, yeah, you don't have attachment, so you you don't really care. Not that you don't care about people, you're not attached to them, so you don't really make decisions based on other people. Whereas anybody who has like a family or friends, this and that, you make decisions based on those people that you're around, right?
hmm
Um, so if you have no attachment, then you don't really have to do that. But the problem with that is if you just teach no attachment, you don't teach people how to manage emotions at all, really. And that's what drives people to the dark side is they feel things and they don't really know how to process it or what to do about it. And that's what happened with Anakin, really. I mean,
yeah,
because this is a person who his mom died when he was young. Um, he has no father. Um, and someone that really fell in love with Padme when he was really young, and him not really being able to be that husband that he wanted to be was a huge part of him turning to the dark side, and him,
Right.
you know, not being allowed to go save his mother and things like that. So if you teach people how to process these emotions and things like that, um, I think it's better off. And I think that was really one of the Jedi's biggest mistakes because they were practicing, yeah, no attachment, but they kind of just became cold and distant from everybody that they're supposed to be helping. And that's why
Right.
Qui-Gon was the one who was supposed to train Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you notice, he wasn't on the council because he didn't
Yeah,
really
he wasn't.
agree with what the Jedi were doing. And you could see the other Jedi how they reacted to him, and even Obi-Wan at the time, how he reacted to Jar Jar and Anakin. He's calling them useless life forms and things like that. And it just
And then
shows
like
you the state of the Jedi at the time.
we we learned that like Qui-Gon had like out of all of the uh, of the Jedi Masters, like Qui-Gon kind of had the best connection with the Force. Like
Yeah,
I feel like he understood the Force the best.
yeah, he did.
Even even as we see in like the Clone Wars, right? Like Qui-Gon was the first one that knew or that learned how to
How to
uh
be a Force ghost.
yeah, exactly, how to be a Force ghost, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then who did he show up to? It was Obi-Wan, right?
Yeah,
or was it
yeah.
Yoda? It was either
I think he
Obi-Wan or
showed up. He
Yoda.
showed up both. He showed up multiple times, bro.
Yeah. He did show up multiple times, yeah,
Because I think he
but
did show
he
up to Yoda too when Yoda learned.
right. So he showed up to both of them and like he actually taught Yoda something like, yo, like, you know, the force is more than like you think it is. And
Hmm.
so it was like a lot that I, I feel like had Qui-Gon survived the duel with Darth Maul,
Hmm.
um, Anakin's fate would have been different.
Yeah, he wouldn't have turned.
Yeah. And um wait, I was gonna say something. Oh, so um you think that Grogu is gonna take the saber instead of the armor?
I don't know what he's gonna pick, but I think eventually, no matter which one that he picks, he's gonna also pick the other side. Like eventually, like he might pick the lightsaber for now or the armor for now. Honestly, if I had to guess which one he's gonna pick now, I would guess the lightsaber. But
Mm-hmm.
I think eventually he's gonna grow up and realize, um, like, yeah, maybe I want to be a Jedi, but I still want to be a Mandalorian at the same time. And I think it's possible to do that. Because like I said, all that non-attachment stuff was really the reason why the Jedi ended up getting killed. They were
Oh,
focused on, politicking and all this nonsense instead of just helping people.
so what I was gonna say before is that in the in the sequel trilogy, right? In the sequel trilogy, Luke's argument was that actually that he wanted the Jedi Order to end,
Hmm.
right? And I think that he got that he like realized that understanding towards that like after the tragedy of his academy, right?
Hmm.
He he realized that the Jedi Order really shouldn't be,
Hmm.
and it's because of the teachings. The teachings aren't for everybody, and that they um what I want to say is that like all Sith are Jedi first. Is that true?
No, it's not.
That's not true. Okay.
No.
Some
Palpatine. Well, some of them are, but
yeah.
a lot of them aren't. But the reason for that is because when you have a Jedi, right? You don't really have to train them to, like in the early times of learning about the Force,
Hmm.
like they already know the basics about, how to use the Force. It's just more of that dark side training. Like Maul wasn't a Jedi, Palpatine wasn't a
Oh,
Jedi,
right.
Dooku was, and obviously Anakin was, but
Yeah.
and Plagueis wasn't a Jedi. The guy before him was like I forgot the guy before Plagueis' name, but I think he was like the same race as they show in the Most Eisley Cantina playing the instruments, that alien. He was that kind of race. He was that kind of alien. I forgot his name though, and I don't think he was a Jedi either.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
there is a good amount
I
of Sith that were Jedi before though.
I feel like a lot of the Jedi teachings, right, that some of the students don't agree with is why um they eventually become Sith. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think Luke
Exactly.
realized that. I think Luke realized that and was like, okay, this is why the Jedi Order needs to end. And that was like that was like seeing now and like putting all the pieces together. I kind of that was like probably my favorite part of the sequel trilogy, like learning that or having that realization um
And it's
that
also
Luke.
just like the misinterpretation of the prophecy. I mean, that's like, another reason why the Jedi got killed is because they think, okay, well, Anakin's supposed to balance the Force, right?
Uh-huh.
They think, oh, he's supposed to destroy the Sith. No, that's not what balance means. It means balance.
Right.
It doesn't mean there's too much light side, because that's
Hmm.
unbalanced. If there's too much light side, that's not balanced. So and that's why it worked out perfectly in Return of the Jedi with um Anakin killing Palpatine, because he ended the Sith, and before he ended the Jedi.
Right.
During, with Order 66 and everything, he caused that to happen, which killed the Jedi, and then later he destroyed the Sith. So he really did balance the Force. I mean, he
Right.
killed the two main factions. So, and that's really that's really how it was supposed to be, balanced. Like, yeah, the Jedi probably shouldn't be like this big, humongous, organization with thousands of people in it. Um,
Right.
so yeah, and that's another reason why the Jedi ended up getting killed. They misinterpreted the prophecy, and honestly, my hope is that they somehow erase the sequel trilogy. Like, so like I hope they either, I don't know. I guess I hope they kind of just ignore it at least, but I really hope they just like erase it, like, and just decanonize it, because it's just so bad. I mean, like it's honestly ridiculous how bad it is.
Yeah. I
And
I I recently watched it and I was like, yeah, like I kind of see what Stefan means. Because it wasn't the best, honestly. Like it didn't really have like much story to it.
no, it was terrible.
I
And
I think I think their problem was like they were trying too hard to hold on to old characters and their stories,
they really were.
and when you can really like build on something new, like Ray Ray's story could have been so much better.
Hmm.
Um, but they were really like focusing like really hard on Leia and
Right, right. And you know what's
Luke.
crazy about it? There is no scene in the sequel trilogy where all the old characters link up. Like, there's no scene where Leia and Luke and Han and Chewie are together. How
Right.
pathetic is that, bro?
Yeah.
It's like they wanted to do something, but they didn't really want to do it. Like, I don't understand why you bring back all these old characters, but then don't even
Hmm.
have them interact. Like, what is the whole
Yeah.
point of it then? Like, I personally think that Disney should have just did a trilogy in a completely new time, where there was no attachment to any characters. Like, it should have either been like 500 years before the Clone Wars, or, you know 500 years after, so that there's no characters that we know already that was alive. And well, I guess Yoda would have been alive 500 years before, but or so even 1,000 years or whatever. Like just or do a movie that has nothing to do with anybody, you know, from the characters that we know already, because it just gives you that freedom. And then no one's really going to be complaining about how you butcher some character that already has like 50 years of history.
Right.
Um, but I think that just shows that Disney wasn't really confident in themselves. Um, I don't know what their deal was, back in 2013 and 14 making The Force Awakens. So, but there's nothing they can do about it now, I guess. I really hope they erase it. Really, that would be like my main thing, is for them to just come out and say, sorry, we screwed this up, and just don't worry about it. We'll explore this time period again. But they'll never do that. They'll never admit that
Yeah.
they screwed something up. But I really hope that they show Luke, like, while he's still sort of a young man. I want to see Luke like realize the Jedi's mistakes
Hmm.
and change it for the future. So maybe he could bring back the Jedi, but change their ways so that it's more sustainable and they don't cause another giant tragedy like Order 66. And
Right.
I think if Grogu ends up being another Mandalorian Jedi, I think that could be potentially the thing that inspires Luke to make a change for the better. So I hope that's what happens. I hope that Grogu ends up choosing, one and then goes back to the other and ends up
Hmm.
being both, and links up with Din again, and Luke sees like, okay, he can be a Mandalorian Jedi. So maybe we don't have to let go of all attachments, and we could still be sort of normal people and also, be force users and be great Jedi. So that's what I hope. And yeah, that's really all I got, man. I mean, we had a banger of an episode,
Banger
and
of episode.
I can't wait for next
I
week, man.
I think I think the way you put it makes the most sense because it'll be easier for Grogu to finish his training with Luke and then
Hmm.
return to the Mandalorian than it will be for him to leave his training now and then go back to it later. So
Hmm.
another thing is, like, I kind of feel like it was good that Ahsoka stopped him for the sake of your argument because
Hmm.
had had he seen Mando, I think that without a doubt he would have
Yeah, he probably would have just went
left
with him.
training. Yeah,
Yeah.
he would have left training and gone with him. Um, but the fact that he didn't get to see him and he left without saying goodbye or whatever, I feel like that by itself will allow Grogu to uh, feel better about making the decision to stay in training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, all right, okay, so I feel like another reason why I feel like he's gonna stay in training is because of the same reason why another reason why I think he's gonna stay in training is the same reason why I think that Falcon and the Winter Soldier isn't a it it's not a must watch to understand the canon of of what's his name story.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because it's like he's gonna be the same he's gonna be the same character. Like, I feel like he's gonna be the same character after that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I do feel like because if you don't watch Boba Fett and then you just watch The Mandalorian, then it'll be weird. It'll be weird starting season 3 with Grogu again.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's all I got too. So
Yeah,
it was
banger
great.
of
It
an
was a great couple
episode, bro.
episodes. Yeah.
Freaking
Hopefully the
banger.
show hopefully the show goes out with a bang. because I can't wait at this point. I'm just like this is like really good.
Yeah, and
It's gotten a lot better.
hopefully in the Mandalorian season 3, we see more Boba and Din link up, and Boba
Right,
helps Din secure Mandalore again. Because we don't
right,
really know what's going on with that planet at this time.
yeah.
So we
You got
know that, they were occupied by the Empire. We know that Empire destroyed them. And then that's really it. I mean, we know some Mandalorians joined the Empire and were like part of them for a while, but there's still so much to explore, and I'm ready for what's next.
yeah, me too.
But that's it. See you next week.
Yeah. See y'all next
Oh,
week.
and
Make
don't
sure
forget, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Filmjet Pod. It's the same app for both social media accounts. We are on YouTube, so search Filmjet on YouTube too, if that's your thing. Um, yeah. See you next week.
thanks for listening. See y'all.